Alright guys, today, why streaming will never be cheap again from asmongold. Asmongold always does good videos. So let's check this video out. It's about like Netflix and the million other streaming services that exist. So let's have a look at this video.
Of cheap streaming is over.
Said that the price of my Disney Plus annual plan was increasing to $140, but that wasn't the only one.
Yeah.
Netflix was going up, and the most affordable tier would now have ads. Amazon Prime would be $3. Apple TV went from $6.99 to $9.99 to $18 a month. There are.
I mean, the problem is that you're paying for so many of them, right? Because everything's going up in price. Gas goes up in price. Cars go up in price. Everything is affected by inflation. So it makes sense that this goes up in price.
True.
The problem is you have so many of them.
And they're all spread across so many different services.
That is the main problem.
But man, does it hurt to fork up so much money.
You want to watch all of them?
To do it.
Just download it off a website.
How did we all end up in this position where we're paying so much for streaming every month? And maybe more importantly, can we as consumers do any better?
Yeah, you just stop buying it. Yeah, it's pretty.
I have two. Yeah. I have Netflix, which I haven't actually watched in a long time. An Amazon Video, which I actually do sparingly. Once a week, twice a week, stuff like that. But that's it.
Pretty simple, right? I mean, so basically, like, what they should do is, like, if you are paying for a lot of streaming services, you should pay for less of them. Like, I think that's like the solution, right?
Yeah.
Because that way, if there's a price increase, you don't have to pay as much money because it's only happening with like one or two of them. Like, that's what I would do. Like, not even saying pirating, right? I mean, you can watch it, you pirate it too. But, you know, like, that's just, that's my mindset.
If you
must consume. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's what I think.
Videos by Vox. Okay.
Why streaming?
To answer these questions, we first need to look at the story from the streamer's perspective. And we'll start with Netflix, the biggest, oldest streamer around.
Yep.
For most of its history, Netflix made money in one way: its subscribers.
Yeah,
so if Netflix wanted to make more money, they
get more
either
subscribers.
had to
use everyone's account
or raise prices. This was always Netflix's strategy. As this 2021 New York Times article explains, the CEO and founder of Netflix was betting that the company could attract subscribers and raise its prices faster than the debt clock was ticking. And Netflix had taken on a lot of debt, almost $15 billion by 2020, with the purpose of building an entire platform's worth of content.
That's probably because I know that Netflix paid tons of money for like Friends and programs like that. But they paid because it was the most popular. It was like, I don't know if it still is now, but at one point Friends was the most popular thing on the app. So that might be why they're spending so much money.
Ensuring that they weren't reliant on movies and TV that they didn't own, like The Office or Friends. This strategy worked, and for a long time, Netflix grew really reliably, even as its prices went up.
They've had very steady growth, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then the pandemic happens in 2020, and they have their best year ever.
That's Lucas Shaw, by the way.
Managing editor for media and entertainment at Bloomberg News, and I'm also the author of the newsletter Screen Time.
Okay.
Netflix got to a point where they realized that their growth was much slower than it had been, right? Growth continues to be slower in 2021, and looking into 2022, they get nervous.
Well, yeah, because there's a bunch of other streaming services in the market. Like, people, like, for example...
I also think just generally there's been a decline in the quality of their shows. Once upon a time, there were so many shows that they made, and that were made and published by Netflix that were really good. And I feel like in the past few years, there hasn't been as many. Like, they would have got a big spike from Stranger Things, which came out not that long ago. The new season of that, because that's one of their big shows. But they used to have so many of them every year. And now they don't have as many as them.
Back in like 2011, everybody had Netflix because Netflix was all there was to have. But now, because there's like 50 streaming services, people choose based off of kind of...
It's like Hulu, Paramount, Apple TV, there's so many of them now. That's why I choose two. And if one day I was like, oh, Apple TV looks good, I would probably just get rid of Netflix, which is what a lot of people have probably done.
which show is popular. Like, for example, I had a friend, I used his account with like HBO Go or something. I think it was called HBO Go to watch Game of Thrones. I would, you know, like look at other shows or something like that on Amazon Movies or something like that. And the more of the different things that there are in the market, the less of the market share that you have. And especially whenever you have things like Disney Plus, where they're actively pulling things away from Netflix to build up their own subscription service. So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what's happened.
And then in 2022, Netflix actually lost subscribers.
Ooh.
Just 200,000 at first, and then a million.
There are only so many people in the population, right? Even if you got everyone, there is a ceiling to that.
But they also knew that they had more customers than it appeared.
Well, it's now becoming a saturated market because of all the different streaming services. It's like on YouTube. If you got on the beginning, if you got in like 2006, 7, 8, then you'd have a much higher success rate than if you jump on in 2022, 23, 24. You know, because it's so saturated now that it's more difficult to become a credible entity. And the same as streaming.
Weird.
This phenomenon of password sharing. Netflix had said publicly that they were not worried about it, and I think early on, it's true, they were not worried about it because password sharing was a way of exposing the service.
Yeah, but now that they're in decline, they're worried about it because now they need to rely on people subscribing. And you're not going to get that if everyone's just borrowing each other's passwords.
To more people, and if people liked it, they would convert. But at a certain point, when they hit a bit of a ceiling, they were looking at the numbers and they said the only way that we're going to be able to grow is if we convert some of those sharers into payers.
This move created a temporary...
Which is like, I mean, that's fair. I mean, like, it's... Yeah. I understand why they got rid of password sharing. Like, I used password sharing, and I have used Netflix for like 15 or 10 years, and I think that I paid for it for like 3. Yeah, because I was using an ex-girlfriend's Netflix, and then we got in an argument, and she reset the password on me. And so then I had to buy mine. That was like 3 years ago. And so, that's basically what happened. Yeah, fucking bitch. I know. And, so, yeah, I mean, my dad's been using somebody else's Netflix for like 5 years or something like that. And, I mean, like, if you're not paying for a service, you shouldn't be getting it in general, right? I mean, that's kind of like, I think that's pretty fair. But, I mean, it did work. Like, Netflix getting rid of password sharing didn't make people stop using Netflix. It made more people buy Netflix, which is kind of crazy because everybody said it wasn't going to work, and it fucking did. Look at the numbers.
And subscribers. It made enough of a dent that other companies are following in these footsteps.
Yeah, of course.
But Netflix isn't the only trendsetter. While all this was going on, another company was carving out a slightly different path.
Hulu.
Hulu has always had 2 tiers to its service, ad-free and ad-supported.
Ad-free,
According to this 2019 article,
now they're all doing
Hulu's
it.
ad-supported
I think
option
Amazon
was the
started that
most
recently.
lucrative tier of their business. It was so successful, they actually
make
lowered
so
the
much
price
money
from
from
$7.99 to $5.99.
Well, yeah, I mean, being able to sell ads is like extremely good, and also like Hulu's like the amount of money that Hulu is getting paid for posting ads is going to be way higher than YouTube because you know exactly what the content you're advertising on is. Like, one of the reasons why streamers and YouTubers don't make like high ad premiums the same way that like television shows do is because streaming and YouTube has less rules. And in general, advertisers, the more rules that you put on content and the more strict you are with content, the more money you can make with advertising. It just kind of makes sense, right? Because advertisers are going to be, it's going to be easier for them to tell exactly what they're getting. And also, you know, of course, marketing to people that are already buying a service is going to be inherently better because it's already a chosen market of people that have already spent money rather than just like a random general audience.
That's a good point.
So, yeah, I mean, Hulu probably made crazy money with advertisements.
Advertising has been the key to a successful video business forever. You know, you think about the cable business.
Yeah.
You don't think about paying for discrete channels, but you are paying for a bundle of channels. And by the way, those channels still have advertising. So it's not really a foreign concept. That's something that Hulu had done.
No, it's similar to the cable.
As more streamers
well, what's going to happen is that if people will eat shit the companies will serve it. So people were okay with having advertisement in their games, or sorry, in their game.
Yeah, if you subscribe to Hulu, it's like a cable package, right? If you want, for example, on Amazon, there's like a sports package you can buy. Now, that's the same as on cable you can buy your sports package. It's really the same thing. It's just not live. Actually, live sports does come on Amazon, and I think you're going to see that more. I think they're going to try and bid for football, European football, not American football, and I think the streaming services are going to try and grab onto that, because it's like the only live product right now that still makes tons and tons of money that people still show up and watch.
Games too, but in their movies and in their shows. So, like, everybody complains about it, but the problem is that consumers are so, like, dopamine addicted fucking slaves, basically, that they're never going to be, like, you're never going to have a consumer's, like, rise up moment. There's never going to be a time where people that really like Star Wars are going to be able to exercise, like, monetary discretion in what they're buying. They have, like, these are people that have collections of Funko Pops. So big surprise that, like, they're not very good at controlling their own desires.
With ever-increasing prices, pretty much every service, including Netflix, has introduced a more affordable, ad-supported tier to their offerings, which people seem to appreciate. Ad-supported plans have been driving an increasing percentage of new signups and supplementing each company's bottom line. But here's the thing. Most of these companies still aren't profitable.
Part of it is just they're so new.
Interesting.
Jesus, Disney is like down $1 billion.
Yeah, because
that's crazy.
That's because they make a lot of shit fucking shows that no one wants to watch, and no one likes. It's not intended for the audience that would watch it. Marvel fans, i.e. comic book fans, you're aiming stuff at comic book fans, but the stuff you're making is not for them. In fact, the directors and the actors are actively shitting on those people, and then you expect them to turn up and watch your stuff. No, it's not going to happen, and that's why you're losing money.
Is crazy. Oh my god.
Sorry,
I think we lose sight of that. Like, these
to get off
companies
my
spend
chest.
billions and billions of dollars to launch new services and take on Netflix, and they tried to condense, 15 years of Netflix's streaming service into 3 to 5. And that was...
Well, and also, like, Netflix has a huge advantage because everybody knows about Netflix, but a lot of people don't know about Peacock or Disney Plus or Paramount Plus or something like that. Now, obviously, a lot of people know about them, but Netflix is like everybody knows about Netflix. It's like it's like fucking a cultural, like, there's the whole Netflix and chill. There's not Peacock or Disney Plus and chill. There's no memes about those because they're not as ingrained a culture.
It has a huge presence.
So that's it, more or less. Companies fighting debt, revenue losses, subscriber losses, or a mix of those things.
And I think also, like, the more players in the streaming space there are, the more confused and frustrated customers become, and the more customers look towards piracy, or they look towards, like, other types of like, basically not supported ways of looking.
Yeah, because if you buy a service, you're like, oh, does this have these few programs? Oh, but this other service has the one other program I want. So is it worth getting this program when I really want to see this other one? So then you just go, oh, well, I can just go online and watch them all.
Looking at content, right? Whether it's like watching it on YouTube or watching it through a friend or something like that. So it's like Netflix, a lot of people had Netflix back in the day because it was really easy, it was simple, it was cheap, and it had a lot of stuff on it. But whenever the quality of the service goes down, it's not like people will just stop consuming the service. Like, that's what they should do, but it's not what they do. What they do is they just try to get it from somewhere else. So it's like, oh, if it's too expensive, I'm just going to steal it. Which is like, you can have whatever opinion you want about that action, but that's still what happens.
Yeah.
Have raised prices and added ads in hopes to become or remain profitable.
Yeah.
But what does that mean for us as individuals? Well, if you're like me and have crafted your personality around filmmaking, movies, and TV, then you might be subscribed to a bunch of streaming services indefinitely. This isn't cheap, but it's the kind of thing that you might be willing to invest.
Sorry?
To be fair, it's about the same price if you adjust for inflation that cable would be right now. Because I remember, like, it was like, what, $80 to $120 to get cable in, like, the mid-2000s? And cable's ads were way worse than even streaming service ads. So, like, if you adjust for inflation, cable now would be probably, like, $200 to, like, $250 a month. It's still cheaper.
So maybe the answer for me is to do nothing and just accept the increased monthly cost because I find value in having access to all of the streaming services. But in researching this video,
I don't think I could pay for all of them.
There's a group of people that have a much more strategic approach. They're called
people that join, and like this is probably what happens, right? Is like people join for like a season of a really popular show, and then they unsubscribe after the show is over. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's true.
Churners, which is just the industry way of saying that this type of consumer isn't static. They're churning or unsubscribing and resubscribing to services based around what they want to watch in a particular month.
Yeah.
According to the analytics group Antenna, 1 in 5 people were serial churners in 2023. It seems like the answer for these people is that...
And this is going to become more common as, you know, the...
It's like when the new season of Stranger Things came out recently. I bet a lot of people resubscribed, watched it. Then they were like, okay, I'm not resubscribing the following month. And then that month would have been much worse than the month it came out. 100%.
Economy gets worse, and also as there are more services. Because if each one of these services is, let's say, $20, let's just use an average, you're looking at 6 services. That's $120 a month. Yeah. $120. That is a crazy amount of money. $120. Holy
Especially
shit!
These days,
it's worth the effort to hop around. They can save money and more selectively
just
access content on their own timeline.
Yeah.
A more middle ground approach might be to subscribe to 1 or 2 services indefinitely and then hop around on the other ones.
I think that's what other people do too. Yeah.
Max, Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon. All within the last month, maybe within the last couple of weeks.
Wow.
And then Paramount Plus and Peacock, I guess, yes, I'm a churner for those. I sign on and off depending on what happens, and that's fine for me. And everyone else, their appetite is going to be different. Maybe other people only want to be permanently signed on for 2.
Mm-hmm. This approach requires some effort and strategy around your media diet.
Well, it's also fatiguing too. Like, I can't really see something like this being normal and like people really enjoying this activity because it makes them, like, it turns them into like an active consumer. And in general, I think that TV watchers are by nature not active consumers. So like if you're making people have to fucking, you know, play musical chairs with like what services they're using, I think you're just like, that's like a timer until they just start pirating or they just stop using the services because it's frustrating and annoying to do this.
It could be quite cost effective in the long run. And that's one of the reasons that we switched from cable to streaming to begin with. The ability to choose what you pay for. Streaming has changed a lot. We're in a new, weird, increasingly expensive era.
Not just that.
Maybe that means it's time we start looking at our relationship to streaming differently and start asking the question, how do you make your streaming diet work for you?
I'm going to say something that needs to be said. This is the most millennial video I've ever seen in my entire life, and it makes me sick. Okay? There it is.
Having a crisis about which streaming service you want to use.
That's the way I feel.
Yes.
Stop subscribing to 6 different services so you can watch TV all the time. Like, please, like, just think about what you're doing with your time. Think about what you're doing with your money. What are you doing getting fixated and upset about this? Just unsubscribe, stop using it. If you don't have the money, just pirate it. Just download it illegally. Just do it. Why not? What are you thinking? It's a fucking TV show. Yes, first world problems. Yes, it's nuts, man.
All right, guys. So, this was a good video, and I actually enjoyed putting my little piece in about it. I enjoyed these sort of topical stuff. If you want to see more of it, big up asmongold, of course. If you want to see more of it, let me know. See you later.